President Lee Jae-myung is set to launch a multi-nation overseas tour this week, beginning in Silicon Valley, where he'll meet the world's top AI leaders before traveling to South America and Germany. During talks in Manila, the foreign ministers of South Korea, the United States, and Japan have reaffirmed their commitment to maintaining strong deterrence against North Korea, while pledging to uphold the goal of denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula. The U.S. military says it has carried out an 11th straight day of airstrikes on Iran, stepping up pressure on Tehran, as Washington seeks to weaken threats to commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. President Lee Jae-myung will embark on an 11-day trip to the U.S. and South America this week. He'll meet global AI CEOs, including Nvidia's Jensen Huang, and meet with the leaders of Brazil, Chile, and Argentina to strengthen economic cooperation. Our Yoon Jung-min reports.
A key takeaway from the president's trip will be his one-on-one meetings with big tech CEOs. On Friday, President Lee Jae-myung will meet with Nvidia's Jensen Huang, OpenAI's Sam Altman, and Anthropic's Dario Amodei, among other CEOs of global AI firms.
Through the meetings with the CEOs of global big tech companies, we will highlight our commitment and full support for AI investment and plan to encourage investment cooperation from key firms.
An AI summit will be held in San Francisco on Friday, attended by Samsung's Lee Jae-yong, SK's Choi Tae-won, Hyundai Motors' Chung Ui-sun, and Naver's Lee Hae-jin, along with the big tech CEOs. MOUs will be signed between Korean firms and the global tech firms, and President Lee will announce his AI vision for related global cooperation.
Major Korean firms and global big tech firms will gather together. It will be a chance to expand our vision for the 3 mega projects on a global level.
Lee will then head to Brazil for a summit with President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, with a focus on resuming talks on a trade agreement with the South American bloc and hold a business roundtable.
We will expand trade and investment with key economic powerhouses in South America, Brazil, Chile, and Argentina. We will expand our diplomatic horizons to the global South.
Over in Santiago, the Korean leader will meet with his Chilean counterpart, Jose Antonio Casts, before flying to Buenos Aires to meet Argentine President Javier Milei. Their focus will be strengthening their partnership on trade as well as economic security, energy, and food security. On the way home, the president will stop by Germany to meet Koreans residing in that country. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Korea will form a joint research support team of state-run institutes to power its 3 major projects, namely chips, AI data centers, and physical AI. Presiding over an emergency economic meeting on Wednesday, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance and Economy Gu Yun-chul pledged full policy support to ensure the success of these projects for long-term economic growth. Gu also reaffirmed efforts to ensure stable crude oil and naphtha supplies through August amid escalating tensions in the Middle East. Korea's top diplomat is wrapping up a busy round of ASEAN meetings in Manila, with trilateral cooperation, economic security, and North Korea dominating the agenda. Foreign Minister Cho Hyun also advanced Seoul's partnership with ASEAN. Our Oh Si-young has the details.
Korea, the United States, and Japan have agreed to strengthen coordination on regional security and economic resilience, while reaffirming their commitment to peace and stability. According to Seoul's foreign ministry, the 3 foreign ministers met on the sidelines of ASEAN-related meetings in Manila on Wednesday, just 2 weeks after their previous talks at the NATO summit in Ankara. Foreign Minister Cho Hyun, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Japanese Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi agreed that closer policy coordination is needed amid growing uncertainty across the region. They exchanged views on Northeast Asia and the Middle East, reaffirming support for international law, freedom of navigation and overflight, and maritime security in the Indo-Pacific. On economic security, the 3 agreed to deepen practical cooperation in nuclear energy, critical minerals, and critical and emerging technologies. They also pledged greater cooperation on advanced technologies, resilient supply chains, economic coercion, and Arctic security. On North Korea, the ministers reaffirmed their commitment to a strong deterrence posture while upholding the principle of denuclearization. They also agreed to maintain close coordination on North Korea policy while pursuing peace and stability through dialogue and diplomacy. Separately, Cho co-chaired the Korea-ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting. He proposed upgrading the Korea-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement while expanding cooperation in AI, the digital economy, energy, maritime safety, and cybersecurity. Korea also unveiled new initiatives on artificial intelligence, cultural and creative industries, maritime safety and scam-related crimes, and sought ASEAN support for a special summit in Korea in 2029, marking 40 years of dialogue relations. On Thursday, Cho will attend the ASEAN +3 Foreign Ministers meeting, followed by the ASEAN Regional Forum and the East Asia Summit Foreign Ministers meeting. He will wrap up his schedule with a meeting of Mekong Foreign Ministers. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Industry Minister Kim Jong-kwan said the issue regarding the Section 301 tariffs with the U.S. will be discussed in depth, while noting that Washington has maintained that it intends to keep measures within a level that preserves a balance of benefits for both countries. Kim made the remarks before departing for Washington, D.C. on Wednesday to discuss bilateral investment and trade issues, marking his second U.S. trip in 2 months. He plans to further flesh out the details regarding investment projects and build momentum for the shipbuilding cooperation initiative, MASCA, during his U.S. trip. In terms of the thorny issue involving U.S.-listed e-commerce giant Coupang, Kim said that although there have been claims that South Korea is discriminating against American firms, he believes any misunderstanding will be resolved once Seoul fully explains its position. In other news, Korean stocks rebounded slightly on Wednesday. Wall Street giants like Morgan Stanley assessed that the recent market slump is reaching its lower limit. Our Baek Joo-hee has more.
The KOSPI edged higher on Wednesday, taking cues from an overnight rally in U.S. tech stocks. The benchmark index briefly touched the 7,100-point mark during the session, but lost most of its gain toward the close to end up 0.74% higher at 6,797.7. Foreigners turned net buyers in the main market for the first time in 12 weeks, driving the index higher after buy-side sidecars were triggered for 2 consecutive days. Despite the index losing steam toward the close, strong cues from Wall Street brought a positive spark, with the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index gaining 5.2%. Market optimism was restored following reports of Nvidia's next-generation platform and strong memory demand projections, easing some concerns over reduced AI infrastructure investments. Major global investment banks signaled that the recent semiconductor correction is entering its final stage. Morgan Stanley reaffirmed its KOSPI target of 9,000, assessing that the market is nearing a bottom. JP Morgan and Bank of America also noted that sell-off pressures caused by position adjustments and leveraged ETF liquidations are largely unwinding. Market analysts point out that while historical valuation metrics leave plenty of room for upside, macro risks are the top concern.
Based on forward price-to-earning ratios and historical averages of 10.8 times, theoretical targets could reach as high as 12,000 points, making Morgan Stanley's 9,000 target achievable. However, if U.S. consumer spending slows, or if Middle East tensions keep oil prices high, corporate earnings cuts could accelerate, potentially dropping by 20 to 30%.
With valuation targets set, analysts say the most immediate task lies in upcoming earnings.
Ultimately, the direction of the KOSPI depends on corporate earnings. The most critical factor right now will be how big tech earnings turn out, starting with Alphabet Thursday morning, Korea time.
Meanwhile, other Wall Street firms also view the sell-off as a brief positioning shift rather than a structural turn, noting that earnings risks are already largely priced in. Baek Joo-hee, Arirang News.
Korea's total national wealth continued to grow last year, with per capita household net assets jump over 270 million won, or around $182,000. However, overall growth has clearly slowed down compared to previous years. Lee Ju-yeon has more.
Korean household wealth jumped over 9% last year, reaching about 274.7 million Korean won, or $182,000. However, growth in total national wealth slowed down, with the stock market boom boosting the value of foreign-owned shares. According to the Bank of Korea and the Ministry of Data and Statistics on Wednesday, Korea's total net worth reached approximately $16.6 trillion last year. After growing by 5% the year before, the growth rate slowed down to 2.2%. By asset type, land helped drive the gains due to higher land prices, up $374.3 billion. Meanwhile, net financial assets saw a sharp drop of $220.2 billion, marking their first decline in 5 years. Net financial assets represent total foreign assets minus foreign liabilities. The Bank of Korea explains that as the local stock market surged last year, the value of Korean stocks held by foreign investors expanded significantly. Since foreign stock holdings are recorded as external liabilities in national accounting, the stock market boom ironically drove down the nation's net financial assets. Last year, the KOSPI jumped 75.6%, far outperforming global indices like the S&P 500 and the Euro Stock 50. As a result, the gains on Korean stocks held by foreign investors grew much faster than those of overseas shares held by Korean nationals. Officials say local stock gains kept beating global benchmarks through June, which could drive down net financial assets again this year if it lasts. With overall trends tied to second-half stock movements, eyes are on how the figures will shape up this year, not just for net financial assets, but ultimately for total national wealth. 이주연, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung has pledged to tackle regional healthcare shortages here in Korea. Speaking at a meeting with frontline healthcare workers at the Blue House on Wednesday, he pointed to the growing concentration of patients at major hospitals in and around Seoul, saying it reflects widening regional disparities in healthcare. He added that ensuring access to quality medical services is essential to balance the regional development. And as part of those efforts, the government has announced plans to introduce AI-assisted systems at public hospitals nationwide to support the record-keeping, diagnostic imaging, and real-time patient monitoring. Tensions between the U.S. and Iran continue to escalate, with Washington carrying out another round of airstrikes and warning against any Iranian attempt to control the Strait of Hormuz. Our Kim Bo-kyung tells us more.
The U.S. Central Command said that on Tuesday it completed its 11th consecutive day of airstrikes against Iran to further restrict Tehran's ability to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. In a statement, CENTCOM said U.S. forces targeted Iranian military operations centers, maritime capabilities, aircraft hangars, drone storage facilities, and military logistics infrastructure. It accused Iran of attacking more than 30 commercial vessels transiting the strait, saying these unjustified attacks have not only endangered hundreds of innocent mariners, but have also undermined freedom of navigation. After the announcement, several media outlets reported that massive explosions were heard across the northeastern part of the Iranian capital and that an air defense system had been activated in various locations in Tehran. Meanwhile, speaking at the ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting on Wednesday, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio warned that it would be unacceptable for Iran to gain control of the Strait of Hormuz, saying such a move would set a highly dangerous precedent not only for the Middle East but for the rest of the world.
And if we create a precedent in the Middle East where a nation state can decide that they are going to control an international waterway, charge a toll, and if you don't pay them, blow up your ships, we have created a very dangerous precedent, which will repeat itself in other parts of the world, including in this region.
While adding that the fundamental principle of freedom of navigation is being threatened, he said the U.S. is still willing to negotiate an end to the Iran crisis, but Tehran is not serious about talks. Such remarks come after U.S. President Donald Trump's warning that Washington could strike Pickaxe Mountain, Iran's suspected underground nuclear site. To this, Iran's Qassam al-Anbiya central headquarters warned late Tuesday that if the U.S. attacks Iran's nuclear facilities, it will target all U.S. assets across the Middle East, further heightening fears of a broader regional conflict. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Unification Minister Chung Dong-young hopes Pope Leo XIV's visit to South Korea next year can serve as a bridge between the divided Koreas. The remarks came on Wednesday during a meeting with Cardinal Lazaro Yu-Hung-sik, prefect of the dicastery for the clergy in Rome. Chung voiced hope that young North Korean people will attend Seoul's World Youth Day in 2027. He also added that Seoul will work to resume communication with Pyongyang ahead of the papal visit. Cardinal Yu noted that the Pope's deep interest in peace on the Korean peninsula. He then added that Holy See ambassadors worldwide will make efforts to contact North Korea before the trip. As South Korea hosts the UNESCO World Heritage Committee for the first time, Busan has opened a special exhibition where visitors can experience the country's world heritage and living traditions all in one place. Our Cho Young-un has this report.
Inside the exhibition venue in Busan, where the 48th session of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee is taking place, visitors are heading to the K-Heritage House. At the official exhibition hosted by Korea, crowds gather to watch performances of Korea's national intangible cultural heritage for an experience of living traditions. Visitors also take part in a stamp tour as they explore the exhibition, pausing to watch demonstrations of the future of heritage through media art and digital content.
I experienced the media art exhibition by the Korea Heritage Service, explored the displays, and even took part in hands-on programs led by National Intangible Cultural Heritage Masters.
Normally, it's not easy to see all of these heritage programs in one place. Here, everything is gathered together, so you don't have to travel far and can experience so many different aspects of Korea's heritage at once.
Alongside 45 exhibitions by 35 organizations, the K-Heritage House showcases Korea's 17 UNESCO World Heritage properties. At the heart of the exhibition is the Korean Tidal Flats Showcase, reflecting one of the key themes of this year's World Heritage Committee and highlighting the ecological value of Korea's natural heritage. Another featured exhibition focuses on UNESCO's Memory of the World Register, presenting 20 Korean documentary heritage items that illustrate the country's achievements, values, and spirit of community.
It is a meaningful opportunity to promote Korea's UNESCO Memory of the World Heritage to an international audience.
One of the exhibition's most popular attractions is the K-Heritage Store, where visitors browse modern lifestyle products inspired by Korea's traditional heritage. Together, the programs offer a rare glimpse into Korea's cultural heritage, beyond what visitors would normally encounter. The K-Heritage House will remain open through July 29, inviting visitors on an interactive journey through Korea's history, while offering an immersive experience of the nation's UNESCO World Heritage. Cho Young-un, Arirang News, Busan.
This week, the Korean central city of Daejeon was selected to host the 2029 Invictus Games, becoming the first city in Asia to host the international sporting event for wounded service members. Now, what makes this achievement so significant? We turn to our Park Kwon-woo here in the studio. Welcome, Kwon-woo.
Great to be here.
So, Kwon-woo, let's start with what Invictus Games are. Tell us.
Of course. So, the Invictus Games are an international sporting event for wounded service members and veterans. And founded by the UK's Prince Harry in 2014, the Games use sport to support the physical, psychological, and social recovery of service members wounded in combat. The Games typically feature 12 sports. That includes athletics, archery, sitting volleyball, and wheelchair basketball. Every athlete carries the Invictus spirit with them, and I had the chance to speak with one of the first Korean women to compete in the Games who even won a medal after overcoming tremendous hardship.
When I competed, I had to go all the way to Germany, so it's meaningful that Korea will now be able to welcome athletes. I hope it helps more people recognize how veterans are honored here.
After being injured, many service members feel like their lives are over. But I eventually realized it wasn't the end, but the beginning.
Great. And, Daejeon is chosen as the host city for the first time here in Asia. Isn't that a tough competition, Konoo?
It totally was. And so this is a truly historic milestone, I must say. And Daejeon secured the right to host the 9th edition of the Games after winning a unanimous vote over San Diego in the U.S. and Aalborg in Denmark. Evaluators praised the close coordination among the central government, local authorities, and the veteran community, all united behind one mission, that is, helping wounded service members recover and rebuild their lives.
And I hope, really, actually, Justin, it's about how South Korea celebrates 75 years since the conflict. And ultimately, 12 of our nations within the Invictus Games Foundation family were there to help. And I think that's why, ultimately, so much energy from your parliament, from your government, and from commitment from your people when we came over to do the recce transformed the way we saw Daejeon.
The foundation was impressed by Korea's strong culture of honoring veterans. During its evaluation visit, it toured the Daejeon Convention Center, the Veterans Hospital, and the National Cemetery. It also praised Daejeon's vision, the commitment of the organizations involved, and its plans to create a lasting legacy beyond the Games.
The foundation also believes bringing the Games to Asia could have an impact beyond Korea.
Your young generation, but I think within the Asian context, it's the fact that there is a lot of conflict going on and a lot of veterans around that aren't necessarily getting the respect and treatment. The great determination would be that we help change attitudes across Asia as well. I know there will be millions of people in Asia will be watching the Games in Daejeon. I think you will be seen as leaders in the area about how to do rehabilitation for those that have been wounded serving for their country. I think for those competitors lucky enough to come to Korea, they will have an
I see. Konoo, then I have to ask, could this pave the way for more Asian nations to, attend the Daejeon Games?
I think so, and there's certainly a greater possibility. Until now, the Games have only been held outside Asia.
Right.
And currently, Korea and a few countries in the Middle East are participating in the Games. Each edition also allows the host to recommend a number of invited nations, and that could open the door for greater Asian participation in future Games.
The final decision on invited nations rests with the Invictus Games Foundation. However, as the first Asian host, Korea will be able to recommend countries such as the Philippines, Thailand, and nations in the Middle East for the foundation's consideration.
Well, we still have a few more years to wait until the Games actually start. Konoo, how are the preparations coming along?
Yes, so preparations are now in full swing. And as the 2029 Games are expected to draw thousands of athletes, families, and supporters from 26 countries, Daejeon is stepping up preparations to ensure the Games are a success.
We're expecting around 3,000 athletes and family members. We'll carefully prepare every aspect from sports venues to accommodation to ensure the Games are a success. With our experience hosting a major international event recently, we're confident.
He added that Sejong City, the administrative capital of Korea close to Daejeon, will also help with accommodation facilities.
I see. Konoo, thanks for the coverage.
All right, always a pleasure.
The stationary front will continue to linger over the central region through tomorrow. The central regions could see as much as 80 millimeters of rain, while the southern regions will see scattered showers from tomorrow afternoon into the evening. That said, just like today, there'll also be plenty of dry breaks with the rain easing off for a time in many places. Meanwhile, heat alerts now cover the east coast of Gangwon-do province and most of the southern regions. During the afternoon, the southern region saw feels-like highs of 33 to 35 degrees Celsius. And even after sunset, temperatures won't cool off much, so many areas will stay stuck with tropical nights. As for temperatures, tomorrow's Seoul will start the day at 25 degrees, Daejeon 24 and Jeju 27 degrees. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 27 degrees. Gyeongju and Jeju will both top out at 35 degrees. The rain will stick around through the weekend, and after that, the country will turn hot and muggy with tropical nights becoming more widespread. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.